Hey guys, welcome back to your Mindset Ear Power. Today we're talking about the most important relationship you will ever have, my friend, the one with yourself. If you want to create the life you truly want, start here. How do you treat yourself? When you make a mistake, when you don't meet your own expectations, when you're tired or overwhelmed, what tone do you use with yourself? Are you kind? Or do you beat yourself up? Because the reality is, most of us would never speak to someone we love the way we sometimes speak to ourselves, right? I can already see you nodding along right now. Yep, you know exactly what I mean. And that's why we're having this conversation today, my friend, because the way you speak to yourself can build your confidence or slowly break it down. It can fuel your growth or quietly hold it back. The way you talk to yourself sets the tone for everything else in your life. So let's slow down together. Let's take a breath and get curious because so much of what drains us isn't what's happening around us. No, it's what's happening inside of us. And like I always say, everything starts with awareness, right? Because awareness is the doorway to change. So I want you to pause for a second and think, how do you treat yourself when you fall short of your own expectations? Do you immediately start criticizing yourself? Or do you give yourself a little space to be human? Here's something that has helped me a lot and so many of my clients too. Realizing that if your best friend made the same mistake you did, you would crush her, right? You will comfort her. You will be compassionate. So why are we so quick to do the opposite to ourselves? Why? You know, for most of my life, I have a confession. I was so hard on myself. Yes, like Olympic level hard, my friend. If I made a mistake, big or small, I'd replay it for days, sometimes even weeks. I'd go to bed thinking about it, waking up thinking about it. I basically gave myself a full-time job in self-criticism. Yeah, and forgiving myself? That was challenging. I used to think that being hard on myself would somehow make me better, but honestly, it just made me exhausted and afraid to try again. Now, listen, I've learned to be kinder to myself. And when I mess up, I even sometimes laugh at myself. Like when I listen back to one of my podcast episodes and I realize I completely mispronounced a word. Yeah, happens a lot. And listen, the old me would have been mortified. Probably have wanted to delete the entire episode. But now, I just simply laugh and say, hey, you know what? I'm human. And hey, now at least I know how to pronounce that word. And the reality is, it will probably happen again with another word. Yes, for sure. And that's okay too. Because that's how we learn. With a little grace, a little humor, and a lot of compassion for the person who is still figuring it out. And listen, guys, self-compassion shows up in all kinds of moments. Not just when you mispronounce a word on a podcast. Sometimes it's when you feel like you have let someone down. Maybe you snapped at someone you love or did not show the way you meant to. And that guilt, it can be heavy, I know. But here's the thing. Part of self-compassion is forgiving yourself the same way you would hope that person forgives you. You take responsibility? Yes. You apologize if needed, of course. And let it go. You can't change what's done. You don't keep punishing yourself because that's not growth. That's self-torture. Growth is when you learn, you repair, and move forward with kindness. You're not perfect, my friend. No one is. You will always make mistakes. We all will. You can't expect to lift yourself up while you're busy putting yourself down. It's simply not sustainable, my friend. When you're harsh with yourself, it's like trying to run with a backpack full of rocks. You can still move, but everything feels heavier. Self-doubt grows. Insecurity grows. And before you know it, you're stuck rehearsing problems instead of solving them. That's what self-compassion changes. It lightens the load. It helps you breathe again and move forward instead of staying stuck in that loop of guilt and overthinking. So let's talk about what self-compassion actually means. Because listen, sometimes people hear that word and think, oh, it's like letting yourself off the hook. But it's not. It's not about, oh, I messed up, who cares? No, my friend. Self-compassion isn't about lowering your standards. No, or pretending mistakes don't matter. It's about honesty with kindness. It's saying, yeah, that didn't go how I hope, but I'm still learning. I can do better next time without beating myself up in the process, right? Because you can't build confidence by tearing yourself down. You build it by learning to guide yourself with kindness. It's the same way you would speak to a child who's learning something new, like walking. You wouldn't scream at them for falling, right? You would pick them up, dust them off, and say, honey, let's try again. That's what self-compassion is. It's the same gentle voice turned inward. And here's the magic of it. When you start treating yourself that way, you don't lose discipline. You gain resilience, my friend. You're no longer driven by fear of failure. You're guided by belief in your ability to grow. So instead of constantly trying to prove yourself, you learning to support yourself. And that's where real confidence begins to grow. And here's the cool part. The science actually backs this up. Studies show that people who practice self-compassion are more motivated, not less. Do you know that? Yes, because they don't waste all their energy beating themselves up. They use that energy to get better. So instead of procrastinating from fear, they take action from understanding. And that's huge, my friend. You see, when you stop fighting against yourself, your brain can finally focus on problem solving and creativity and vision. And that's when you start building the life you actually want. Think about it. When you're kind to yourself, you give your mind permission to breathe again. And when your mind breathes, it relaxes, right? So it's ready to create. Think of self-compassion as your inner oxygen mask. You know, on the plane when they tell you to put yours on first before helping others? Same thing here. You can't build, create of law or love fully if you're constantly suffocating under self-criticism. It's impossible. So now let's talk about how to actually practice this. One of my favorite ways, if you have heard other episodes before and you already know me, is journaling. I love journaling. So grab your notebook tonight or later and ask yourself a few questions. Write them down if you want. What kind of relationship do I have with myself right now? Am I my biggest fan or my toughest critic? How does that relationship make me feel? Empowered or drained? What would I change in my life if I started treating myself like someone I love? What would change in my life? Then go deeper, my friend. What thoughts about myself are standing in the way of the life I want? Write it down. Then flip each one. Instead of I'm terrible at this, right? I'm learning. Instead of I always mess up, right? I'm figuring it out. Those rewrites matter, because your brain believes the story you tell it most often. We have talked about it before. And let's get practical. Self-compassion isn't just about words, it's about choices too. So start asking, what fills me up? What drains me? Maybe a walk in nature resets you. Maybe a quiet coffee break. Maybe saying no to something that doesn't feel aligned. Those are self-compassionate acts. Resting when you need to, speaking kindly to yourself when things go wrong, allowing imperfection without making it a mean failure. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. Okay, Mariela, but if I'm too kind to myself, won't I lose my edge? Listen, my friend, that's one of the biggest myths we've been taught. So many of us grew up believing that being hard on ourselves is what keeps us motivated, that guilt equals growth. But the truth is, no, it's not true. Pressure doesn't create progress. It creates paralysis. When you spend your energy criticizing yourself, you're not building discipline. You're building fear. And fear doesn't move you forward, my friend. It keeps you frozen. Self-compassion, on the other hand, does the opposite. It doesn't make you soft or lazy. No, my friend, it makes you brave enough to try again. Because when you know you're not going to mentally destroy yourself for making a mistake, you stop wasting energy on fear and you start using that energy for growth. Think about it again as we teach the kids. We don't demand perfection. We guide them through the process. We celebrate effort. We give grace for mistakes. That's what helps them grow, and that's exactly what we owe ourselves to. So the next time you mess up, talk to yourself like you would talk to a child. Guide, don't punish. Support, don't shame. Because that's what true discipline really is. Staying committed to growth without losing compassion along the way. And speaking of compassion, I want to share a little analogy that perfectly captures it. And if you're a dog lover like me, this one is for you, my friend. Imagine your dog, that little amazing and beautiful creature, doesn't wait for a perfect day to love you. No, it doesn't check if your hair looks good, if your to-do list is done, or if you have made a mistake that day. No, your dog just sees you, and wags its tail like you're the best thing in the world. That's the kind of love you deserve from yourself, my friend. Warm, forgiving, unconditional. Because if you can't give that to yourself, everything changes. Your confidence changes, your motivation, your peace, your relationship. Everything gets better. And let's be honest, the world can be harsh enough. Life is not easy, right? The least we can do is stop being the source of our own suffering. So let me give you a different picture. Think of your mind as a beautiful garden. Every thought is a seed. Some grow flowers. Others grow weeds. Self-compassion is the gardener who notices the weeds without panicking. He doesn't scream at them. He just gently pulls them out and waters what's healthy and keeps showing up every day. He knows it's never about being perfect. It's about tending. And that's what this mindset is, my friend. Daily tending. And, I always like to leave you with something simple. Something you can actually do this week. And here's what I would like you to practice. Every time you catch yourself in self-criticism, pause and ask, what would I say to a friend right now? And then say that to yourself. Even if it feels awkward at first, it's okay. Because every time you do it, You will literally rewiring your brain to choose kindness instead of cruelty, my friend. You're teaching your inner voice to become your ally, not your enemy. And little by little, that voice starts to sound different. It softens, it supports, it reminds you that you're doing your best. And sometimes that reminder is exactly what keeps you moving forward. All right, my friends, before we wrap up, let's take a deep breath together and let's look back at everything we uncovered today. Because we learned that the way you talk to yourself sets the tone for your entire life. Self-compassion doesn't mean no accountability. No, it means accountability, but with kindness. You can't build the life you want if you keep tearing yourself down. It's impossible. And every small act of kindness, a break, a walk, a loving word, rewires your mind for peace, confidence, and growth. Every moment of compassion towards yourself is a moment of healing. Every kind thought is a brick in the foundation of the person you're becoming. My friend, you are the only person who will spend every single minute of your life with yourself. You deserve your own kindness. Of course you do. A single moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. And a string of those moments can change the course of your entire life. So today, promise yourself this. When I fall, I'll get back up, but I will do it gently. When I fail, I'll learn, but I won't label myself a failure. And when I speak to myself, I'll do it with the same tone I use with someone I love deeply. Because you are that person, my friend. You are human. You're learning. You are worthy. Right now, not when you're perfect, not when you have it all figured out. Now. And that, my beautiful friend, is where true power begins. Because when you choose compassion, you stop fighting your past and start creating your future. And listen, if this episode touched something in you, share it with someone who might need that same reminder today. Until next week, my friend, be kind to yourself. You're doing better than you think. You got this, my friend. I love you guys. Have an amazing week.